All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. 54 minutes after the hour. Welcome to Storm Talk. I'm with meteorologist Brian Good on this Tuesday. A lot to cover in a very short amount of time once again today. So I'll try to get right into the setup and how this is playing out, where we're at, and our thoughts on some of the elements we'll be facing. I know you're still going to have a lot of questions on some of those specifics. It's only Tuesday, but we at least got a little bit more data today than we had before. So that does help a bit on trying to pick out some of those problem areas for later this week. And we'll do just that come up here over the next few minutes. So hopefully I'll answer your question. It's in the back of your mind. It's itching right now to come out. I'll try to get that solved for you guys here in just a second. All right, let's talk about the short term, because we do at least have some downpours going to be tracking throughout the day today. We've already seen some that have been relatively nocturnal throughout the overnight, close to the city of Louisville. Same storyline again for this morning, fairly low overcast. The planes look a little spooky today coming in for a landing. They're kind of just last second coming out of that cloud bank near the city of Louisville and the airport, as we do have these downpours lingering across very close to the metro. It's hard to even see them. They've been just kind of drifting very close to the city and then off to the north. And then you've got other showers to the east. Some of you around Bardstown, Marion County, you're actually getting some sunshine at the moment, partly cloudy sky. But as we've seen, it doesn't take long to cloud back up in these scenarios. And we are expecting a little more of a spotty look to the radar today, of a scattering of showers, even a few thunderstorms today, but we'll get into the mix. Not overly concerned on the severe side of things. One or two could pulse up to strong levels. I wouldn't rule that out, but that would be a typical summertime setup on that idea of them getting right on that threshold. But majority of them will be like yesterday, far under that mark. It's still that same low pressure we've been talking about, still spinning away, but it's a little further north and east than what it was yesterday. It's basically over us. You don't want to be on the far eastern side, because that's where you're going to get a little more of your stronger storm potential on this. We'll be in the Carolinas with that moisture coming in straight from the Gulf Stream right into this bad boy. But in general, it's really weakening, but it is heading into the way from us to allow for then a transition from showers and clouds to heat, at least briefly. We talked about how hot it was into southern Canada, crossing over the triple digits into northern areas of the plains in southern Canada. Now it's Texas starting to get in on the action as well. They're going to be heating up big time today with unusual heat building. Really, the entire front range of the Rockies already got heat advisories. Oh, boy, don't you miss hearing that. Heat advisories out for Texas today, where the heat index could be roughly about 106 to 108 for a while this afternoon. And that's a dry heat for them. So, yeah, it's not going to get to that level here, but I do think a heat index of 90 is at least reachable. The actual temperature may hit 90, may. I say this every time. The first time that we hit that, it's always based on how green things are outside, if you had recent rain or not, what is the current dew point. There's a lot of factors into that around here. We get really that in the freezer mark, we get really on the benchmark up here, get a lot of attention, right? Even though it's just 1 degree difference. What's the difference between that and 79 and 80? 80 doesn't get any praise. It should. But in this case, it does matter. Moisture levels in our area, based on the climate we're in, they do matter. And it's hard to gauge. It's been pretty wet, right? I mean, cloudy, everything's relatively green. That does tend to hold the thermometer back. Now, the heat index, though, is the counteractive to that. It will go higher in that scenario. So that at least will hit 90. But anyway, don't want to spend too much time on that, because it's not a point that everyone's going to have to worry too much about, because it's only going to be a very short amount of time. And then we reset back into 70s for highs shortly after that. You see our severe risk today is very minor, little pockets where you get some of that fuel around that low pressure, and then already seeing signs of the trouble that will be coming our way at the very end of the week for sure. You can see right now or actually as we into tomorrow, you see these slight risk that breaks out into the northern plains ahead of the boundary, and then boom, there we go, right into the Ohio Valley. And this is a very sharp trough. I mean, the low pressure track is going to be very sharp angle into the lower 48. It doesn't really move all the way over us. It just glides past the Ohio Valley, but it will have a front, as typically the case this season, that will be dragging behind. You can almost see the curve of the front that will get stalled very close to Tennessee. That will lift back north again. As it does so, another low pressure will be tracking along that will then kick up the showers and storms on Friday. A lot of moving parts here with that wave moving in, tilts, low moves along it, and grabs it, moves on. That's all going to happen in about a 36-hour window. And because of that, there's still some uncertainty on the exact timing and placement on any severe potential. But we do know that there is, normally this wouldn't get a lot of attention in, say, February or March around here. But with 90-degree heat and triple-digit heat in advance of this system, this is a bit unusual. This is a spring-type setup that has got a lot of summer warmth and humidity involved, and that spells trouble. You get more powerful thunderstorms in that sense, and they can certainly put down a lot of damage and wind, large hail too in this case. So that's the overall storyline on this. Your severe risk, again, this only goes out in detail like this, only goes out on Thursday. And this is really Thursday night. We're talking about some cells, and you'll see an example of this coming up that could move across Southern Indiana late Thursday night. That risk for Kentucky is much lower than, say, the Indiana side of the river will be based on just because of the tilt of the front at that point. But that's right now, I think they got that placed fairly well from what I've seen in the data trends, but there's a big asterisk to that. I'll explain coming up in just a second. Let's start off with the latest on our in-house model. We'll go 1 hour at a time here for you guys. Today, there's fuel out there, as you can see, low in fuel, nothing too intense. And as soon as it tries to get to a higher level of fuel or cape, these downpours pop quick and eat it away. So that's why the severe threat's limited today. The showers and thunderstorms will be able to generate fast, and that keeps them active, but it keeps them relatively tame as well. Good downpour action again for your gardens for sure. They are heat-based, so once we get into tonight, they'll begin to fade, although there's probably going to be 1 or 2 downpours or showers that will likely linger into the overnight hours. You can see a hint of that. And why does that happen? Well, that is the center of the low itself. And with it curling around, that may be enough of a mechanism to keep enough lift going for some general showers that may be very close to Louisville. So I'm not discounting the weird look to this model completely, because I do think that's possible, that we could get some downpours that will hug very close to the center of the red L on the map before it moves away. And that may be your backyard. It may be right in Louisville. We'll see. It moves away, and then once we do, we have a chance to get at least a lower end shower chance tomorrow. Now the center of the low will be here as we head into your Wednesday. We're on the backside of it. That means those of you south and west of Louisville will already be transitioning to the summer heat scenario, getting closer to it anyway, but you won't have as much of a trigger for downpours, so your rain chance is lower. And if you're north and east of Louisville, so the 71 corridor and toward Lexington, your chance will be a bit higher still, very similar to today on your ability to get downpours. Louisville will be right on the edge of that. But I would bet more on the drier side of things than the wetter side right now, based on that position of the low. We usually do fairly well in that scenario. Okay, so that moves on out. Look at that gold in Missouri. Yeah, that's the really high levels of fuel being added into the mix. We get into Wednesday night, not very much a warm or a cool night at all. It's going to be mild. We get into Thursday. Now we're really lighting things up. Look at St. Louis coming in already near 90 at 12:30 in the afternoon on Thursday. Lower 80s here. Now we're getting to the max of the Cape as we head into Thursday. Look how bright that is. Everyone's going to wear sunglasses to look at that. But we've heard about this before many times when you get these setups, when you get really intense heat. We've mentioned this the exact system here last week. We were talking about how, yes, there's a lot of gold on that map, but a lot of that will be capped, which means basically there's a layer of warm air above your head. That has not changed since we talked about last week. It's still there. It's still going to be a problem with the Thursday system. And I say problem loosely. It actually could be our friend and helping us out. But the problem with the cap is that, yes, that can protect you from storms in the short term. If the cap breaks or busts, then you got problems quickly, especially with hail. Rapid changes can develop. And this particular model indeed can see that problem. Now, what it's doing is it needs something that would help on moving the air enough to cause the imbalance to happen. In other words, it can force any type of showers or thunderstorms to try to form into that layer that's warm and above it beyond. Once that happens, the cap breaks or busts. And that would be some type of boundary, and that boundary is right there into St. Louis in Illinois. That's where it should start anyway, to try to burst through that warm layer. So this is a day we could hit 90 possibly. One thing I've seen commonly happen in this scenario, when you get the timing of a front in St. Louis like this, you get a very capped atmosphere, a lot of warm layer. You're going to get a lot of cloud cover in the mid layers of the atmosphere. Not low clouds, mid to high deck almost, but mainly a mid deck of clouds that will develop. That could block the sun in a few cases and allow for a little bit, again, of a bust potential on avoiding 90 there. If you're expecting 90, that would be the bust potential, would be that mid cloud layer that could form. Even some spotty showers can form in that layer, right where the warm layer is itself. But they can't do anything. They can't grow at all. There's nothing to get them beyond that point of crossing the line and becoming something more powerful. So they just stay at showery form, not even enough to produce rain perhaps to the ground level. It just ends up being a mid deck of clouds. That is possible on Thursday. Wouldn't surprise me. We see that happen because it is a common theme in our area anyway to see that. Meanwhile, you have your shovel being scooped into St. Louis. That would be enough to scoop up the showers and storms, and you'll see in the next frame, there they go. They begin to blossom and bust through the cap there around 8 o'clock. Loose time here. This is only Tuesday, but get the idea for Thursday night. This is why I think the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center for aiming for Indiana and Ohio is good, because right now that would line up with the flow that whatever develops and pops there into Illinois would then track right along central Indiana. And look how it eats that cape away. Look at that. Just like Pac-Man. Eats it away. Still caps in our environment, although you start to lose the cap naturally every day at sunset. That just naturally happens because the air cools. So that warm layer becomes not as much of a factor. It cools down. But you also lose all the fuel at the ground level too. It cools down. So sometimes that can be a perfect balance to avoid storms altogether. Unfortunately, in this case, I think we need to stay on guard all night Thursday night. So Thursday night could be a long night for some of you in Indiana. I'm not, again, as worried about Kentucky right now. Oh, it's a stick figure. Hello. Anyway, I am worried, though, for areas, central Indiana especially, maybe southern Indiana, but central Indiana, I think, is an area to really watch. That if they do blossom in Illinois, and you'll know by sunset, you'll know if there's going to be an issue. If they start to pop there, they will keep going. There's not much to stop them. So they'll blossom on the radar and they'll race right across Illinois, Indiana, until they run out of the natural fuel that is already cooling down into areas, say, around Ohio. But that's a fast journey in about 4.5, 5 hours. I mean, they're moving along pretty good across the Hoosier State into Ohio, but still leave us untouched, especially in Kentucky. And that's where the problem will be for Friday, because the boundary will now be tilted because of the showers and storms that roll through. They will create a tail, almost like an MCS would, and that tail will be right across Kentucky, Illinois, and to southern Ohio. And it'll go there and just go to sleep, basically, only to awaken as we head into Friday. And that's where our problems come in a little closer to wave country, will be because of what happens Thursday night. If these storms do not fire up Thursday night, say the cap holds in all areas, more than likely then your storm threat may be a little more either to the north or northwest of our area, and we may not be fully in the zone on Friday. We may luck out there, but right now I think the idea of what it's doing of storms blossoming in Illinois and racing across Indiana is a fairly, not a high likelihood, but it's a little higher than average, at least on my take. That's how it feels to me. This will lead to a boundary that will then be in our area for Friday. So everything's kind of a catalyst of one thing affects the other, right? Now, as we head into Friday, I don't have the model stops here, so I can't show you a lot of the high res data anyway beyond that point, but you get the idea of the framework that we're looking at. Let me show you the Euro model, and this is looking, it doesn't have the cape as listed as you did see on the graph there, but you'll see the storyline. It's got the storms a little closer to the Ohio River, but the grid on the Euro, this far it's not the best, but in general, it'll be racing Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Then we get into Friday morning, maybe some showers around, but the storms blossom right here Friday night. right across Illinois, Indiana, and especially Kentucky. I think this is a little too far north. The GFS is a little further south than this, and the Euro is a little further north. They're kind of bouncing back and forth, kind of switching around and wobbling on where this Friday wave and tail will be. But in general, it's going to be in our region, and that'll race on by. Timing on this, can't give you specifics yet, but it will be just naturally taking place, I would say, 7 p.m. Friday through about 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, give or take. That's kind of how it looks to me, about a 6-hour window of the most active weather at a typical time we normally would, late evening and the early overnight. And then by Saturday morning, we should see this particular wave end, although this front may come back and bite us again next week when it comes back for a visit again and heads north, but we'll worry about that later. Here's your severe risk again for Thursday. And the severe risk for Friday from the Storm Prediction Center is already out now. It was issued this morning for areas right along where they will blossom into Missouri and Arkansas and then race northeast as we head into Friday night. They should have a northeast jog along that tail, wherever that tail is at an angle from Ohio down to Southern Illinois. They should track very close to that and race northeast. Friday night should be the storm motion, and it'll be in clusters and cells. Not exactly a squall line, so a squall line is a lot easier. This is going to be very messy on how this all evolves. This is the latest from the AI, the CSU learning module. You guys love looking at that. It can break down by type on day 3. It can't do that beyond that. So on day 3, your tornado potential, I know it's really hard to see, I'm sorry, but it's mainly north of us for your main risk for anything on the tornado side. Your damage wind side, hail side, all of that is roughly running across that zone I was talking about through Indiana, moving into Ohio. So that looks fair. I don't see anything too alarming with that at all. If anything, it's a little further north than what the modeling would even show. But then we get to Friday, and it's right over us at a high probability, and it's hatched. Not good news in any count. Again, I can't break that down more, but it would be all modes really would be on the table. And this will be mainly Friday night. If we end up with a scenario that is a little more rainy Friday morning, say that front that drops from Ohio down into Illinois, Indiana, it's a little messier with the showers that linger for a while. Obviously, that will help us if it can linger throughout a good chunk of the daytime period on Friday and try to tame things down a bit. I'm not going to roll that out, but it's unlikely just because we have so much time now, daylight, to work with, that even if we had showers that lingered to 10, 11 a.m. on Friday and then they dissipated, that's still enough time for the atmosphere to recover and be able to produce severe weather as we get into Friday night. All right. Does that all make sense on that end? Shear values, don't have the exact values on any particular model right now, Chris, but they've been running high, obviously. Easily between the 40 and 55 knots has been the average on it, but different models vary on that. They're all there, though, at severe limits. So that won't be a problem. But it's more unidirectional than directional that I've seen so far in the soundings. I didn't put soundings in. I don't like to show those too often. A lot of people don't understand them. But in general, it's more of an issue, I think, of straight line Boeing segments. But as always, you can get rotation with that. So that's always going to be a risk. I think hail, straight line wind, Boeing segments, possibly a tornado potential there. I'm not going to rule that out, but that's not what I see right now screaming at me more than the straight line wind part. Jacobs, the issue looks pretty bad on Friday. Yeah, we've seen that several times, right? Adam, do you see any derecho potential? That's the thing. Derechos are not so much on the intensity as it is how long it tracks. And I forgot what the threshold is. I want to say it's 175, something like that, miles, maybe 300 miles. It's multi-state. And in this case, no, I don't think it's going to be that organized into one line yet for that to happen. Derechos are also more common in a north, west to southeast motion, or west to east is most common for those because they feed on the higher dew points as they head south. This one's going to be heading away in northeast, so it's eventually going to run out of the higher dew points and will begin to weaken. So it's going to be very hard to maintain that status. ZK, so Thursday and Friday, full alert day. No, good question. We have Thursday night late night to account for whatever happens. It could scoot into Indiana with the first cells, the bust, the cap. And then Friday, I think all day. I think, yeah, we're going to keep it all day, although the majority of the storms will be Friday night. I just think in general, everyone's awareness needs to stay up until we get to the other side of that, which would be in the wee hours of your Saturday there. Everyone's talking about deratios. Where is this term coming from that everyone's talking about with this system? Somebody throw that out somewhere in social media. All right. Everyone looks all right. Looks all right there. Been nice to see some tame nocturnal storms. I agree with you, Mark. Sometimes we get that, especially when we're on the weakening side sometimes, especially early morning storms are my favorite. The ones that like are 8 a.m. Not the best time for storms. Some of us have plans, but 8 a.m. thunderstorms, especially on a Sunday morning, I think they're so peaceful, non-severe. They're my favorite. You just don't get those late night, early morning storms very often, usually more in the summertime. And usually it's an MCS that does that, but they are really nice. Okay. Tornado threat looked overly high. No, it does not look overly high, Brandon. So that's good. So that's a good thing for us. I think the straight line wind threat is more of a concern. Cameron's already looking ahead to next week. Cameron, give me more gray hair. Yes, next week could trend toward an alert day. More likely Wednesday. And that will be a concern. I'm not there yet. I got my plate full in the short term, but that's something we're looking at for next week. Yes. And also I get your question that I have to run because I'm running out of time. Sorry, I knew it was going to be a short one today, but it was either not do one at all today or spend a little bit of time with you. So I chose a little bit of time with you all because I know you guys are itching at some info, right? Damage and winds may concern 70 plus. Absolutely, Austin. I think the 70 plus tag is going to be a common threat with these storms on Friday. If they get going, that can indeed be realized. But a high tornado potential right now, that's something that's, while anytime you get a setup like this, tornadoes are possible. But I know you guys are instantly thinking of the big ones that you can get. This is not a favorable setup for that. It looks really messy. I think there's going to be cells all over the place. So kind of merge together. It may end up being more of an MCS feature before it moves off to north and east. That wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot to work with. And Aaron, you're right. Cape is very high. There's a lot of debate right now if the models are too high with that, which they can be sometimes. They can overestimate. And then the true reality that day when weather balloons are launched is the numbers are much lower. Either way, I think it's certainly going to be the highest Cape day we've had so far this year. I do feel that. So that's going to lead to some concern on rapid development. A lot of lightning here, guys. A lot of lightning, cloud of ground lightning especially, and damage winds will be a concern. Maybe even some hail, large hail, especially in the first 3-4 hours of their lifespan. That may be a problem. So a lot to cover in the coming days. This is like the unrelentless spring season for us. Can't seem to get it to calm down, right? Again, we'll get close to 90. Thursday right now will be a mainly dry day. So I don't want you guys to worry about Thursday. Thursday looks dry. I think it's Thursday overnight that if anything were to hit, and it may just be Indiana, we'll have to face a storm threat in the overnight. So we'll keep you updated on that. We'll watch Friday how it will evolve. We have 40% chance in now just because we're not sure how much of the coverage area we'll see a spike. I can guarantee you that number is going to go up. It'll probably be a 60 to 80% will be the chance coming in. And then Saturday's alert day is just for anything that could still be impacting, especially our southeast sections, as into early Saturday morning, likely before 10 a.m. I do not see a severe threat beyond 10 a.m. So that's good. And then right now as it holds, we'll keep Sunday as the quiet day. Remember I said, though, that front, once it gets pushed south, it will come back again. How fast does that happen? Will it give us a break for like 30 hours or so? Maybe. But there are some hints that it wants to rapidly come back. And if so, then our storm chance will reset and we're back into more action again for next week. All right. There you go, guys. That's what we're holding on to it for now. We'll keep you updated as always. I'll show you some of the newest stuff coming in, not only on midday today, but of course on the block here tomorrow. Take care, guys.